Welcome to episode 3 of the making of rolling stock. My name is Leo and I'm the maker of rolling stock. By popular demand, here is the potato farm Pyro. These explosions were pretty basic and are the first indications that the video is a twisted tale. The video speed is reduced to 30% to give the illusion of a much larger explosion. Each different view is a step in the final edit where we need to see the destroyed model. Here we can see some fireworks fuse burning just to give some smoke after the main explosion.
Thomas lay upside down with severe burns. The coal trucks were completely destroyed.
Do not adjust your screens. Much of the video was shot upside down and inverted when edited. When shooting models, it is very important to have a point of view similar to real life. I used the LCD screen of my camera to view what I was shooting the right way up. My Sony camera has its lens barrel on the top, much higher than the models I was shooting. The camera is slung from the roof or left to lay on the set. Getting down to the model's level makes a huge difference in hiding the scale and making the video lifelike. This is a must on any model train video. It is an easy way to make a big difference in your videos. This scene of Thomas skidding towards anti-diesel was achieved like this. The Thomas model was mounted on a ruler which was attached to the camera, and then the camera was set along the rails. This becomes a major set as there's a lot of discussion in there, videos get looked at, but more importantly Thomas gets rebuilt, and the first thing I did was I did the rebuilding video because that ends up being seen in the shed. The Thomas rebuild animation was reversed. The model was moved, painted and cut up. Background trains were also moved during the animation process. Here is the Thomas animation slowed up and viewed before I reversed it. There was a small cradle to locate the Thomas model between each move. You can see the way I was working towards the exploded Thomas. A lot of detail inside the shed with the rubber dust acting as a gravel, and as we move outside the shed into the rail yards, very little detail. Diffusion paper brings down the light level to give a discernible difference between inside the shed look and what is the background or the outside look. There's a small downlight which is the highlight for Thomas in the foreground. Well, as you can see, this is the shed, which was one of the final scenes in the video, and it's a fairly small set, and one of the problems I thought I'd have was there's not much movement in this. The engines are all static, looking at a television screen, so I had to induce a few camera moves to give the scene some life.
You see, it's a drama. It's very good. I act in it. One of the most exciting scripts that I've ever seen.
And there you can see I had 3 different sized paddle pop sticks. You can see them incorporated all through the interior just to give it a bit more depth. On the floor, once again, I used rubber dust. Rubber dust is good because it doesn't stick to anything, it doesn't get into your camera, it doesn't really stick to the trains. So here's a close-up of the lighting truss and the little lights that are above the trains. So there's the solitary downlight that I used for lighting the small set. And I used these cross members as cutters to produce shadows in the shed. The whole video was shot with the exposure set on manual, and the daylight stuff was 1 stop down. This sort of stuff was shot at either 2 or 3 stops down. Give you an example of the change that you get. Notice how the walls look now. There's very little contrast on the floor. When we start, there's 1 stop down. Start going down, you notice that the shadows become more prominent. It's 2 stops down. Starting to get some really dark areas about, and there's 3 stops down, and it becomes a lot more moody with the effect. A lot more interesting to look at. Little bits of detail we had also was, of course, this sheet here, and there you can see the size of it. That's the one that supposedly the fat controller holds when he says, "Oh, these share prices have taken a sudden dive since the bombing." Okay, here we are in the construction window, and we're at a point where all the visual has been edited to the final section. There's the intro, there's of course the countdown leader, and what we have here is the music, the intro music, which this line is also all the dialogue. As we scroll along, we can see as each action is happening up in the top. So there's this section here is relating to the coal mine. So these are associated coal mine sounds. We go along, and of course there's general train sounds here. And there's bits like that. That's Andy Diesel entering the yard. These are all the associated sounds of Thomas. That's his skidding sound as he's heading towards the shed. The skidding sound all by itself. And we'll go along a bit further, and then we have the explosion sounds here. And you can see the rubber band work which is done to mainly get around the dialogue. You can see where the pieces of dialogue are. This is Andy saying, I know, I think that's John Urquhart there. So this one.
Thomas steamed out of the shed. His driver placed the bomb on the running board and headed down the main line.
And you can see the explosions. They're not full volume. There's a number of explosions that are set at just above half volume. Just a matter of just getting that not too loud, where you're blasting an overpowering system, but just loud enough that it's a creative effect. Okay, here we are within Adobe After Effects, and what we're looking at the moment is the effect done to Noel's eyes, which of course were the bulging eyes, and now I had to apply this effect twice. So there's one for that eye, which is there, and it's been highlighted on this effects panel here. Now if I click on the other one, it swaps to the other eye. You have all the parameters to each effect running down this side, and then in relation to time, we have the changes of the effects, and there's little diamonds there indicate a change in the effect which happens over time. It's called keyframing. To give you an example, we'll switch to the other bulge, and in real time you can actually make the effect happen, and there's his eye, one eye bulging and one eye staying. You can make of course the eye shrink as well, so you can do a number of things with this, and of course the limitations are, well, there are no limitations, you can do anything. Okay, here's another scene where After Effects was used, and it's a very subtle type of effect in the sense that we had to remove a cable that was being used to move the crane. Once again, this dialog box here brings up the type of filter we've used, and it's called the Final Effects Simple Wire Removal, and there's all the parameters are there. As you change the parameters, we'll bring up I call it construction window, which is very similar to the construction window in Premiere, but what we're dealing in here is a very small increment of time. We're dealing with just over 2 seconds. And over that period of time, as you scroll along, the picture changes. And once again, our keyframes are in here. So every time I've changed the effect over time, it remembers, and as we go along and the video plays, it remembers that effect change actually does take place in the video. The area where the wire was lying was between this point here and that point up there. Now, at the moment, the wire removal filter is active. I'll just turn the filter off and the wire appears. You can just see it there between those 2 points, in and out points. Turn the filter back on and it disappears. If I just slide one of the end points away, you'll see the wire appear. And we'll look at the wire that we can see on the crane. I'll just move that away for a second, and you can see the wire appear. Put it back and the wire disappears. And I'll just go to the other filter, and that's the clean up of the set in this area here. If I move the end point there away, there's the line in the set. It was very noticeable. Bring that back in, disappears. Just like magic. Very helpful, very handy, and definitely worth it if you want to tidy things up. I dare say one of the more dramatic effects you can achieve in After Effects is the lightning effect. Because of the amount of variables, it really does take time to get going. I'll just change the resolution down to half so we can see it better in real time, and we'll go in closer and we'll show it over time as it progresses. Of course, this lightning effect had to coincide with a flash of light. It was a 500 watt light in the garage. So as we go through in time, you can see the light effect come on, which is what we call interactive lighting, and the lightning effect then does its thing as time. I'm just going frame by frame here as time goes by. Now, like I said, everything's variable on this, and if I wanted to, I could make the lightning come right down here. But then it doesn't look quite real, does it? Because it's too far in the foreground. I could make it go right over here if I wanted to. You can do anything you want.
The storm was brewing, so all the engines packed into the shed.
I can get it.
Thomas steamed out of the shed. His driver placed the bomb on the running board.